Hey y'all, joyful Saturday. I know it's been a minute since I've been talking to y'all, but it's been a lot going on. I'm gonna give y'all a little update. As y'all can see, we finally got a dresser. Finally been able to get some of the stuff that I talked to y'all about before. And I realized like I need to want a dresser, you want a nightstand, but we done had our dresser for like a month and some change now, and I am just now getting like my clothes out of the bins that they were in and putting them in my drawers and where they need to go. So it's like, even though I was like I want to get a dresser, today was the day that I actually started to move the stuff from where it used to be to my dresser and things like that. I was putting other clothes in my dresser, like clothes that I washed and dried and stuff like that, but clothes that were already folded and put up in the bins that I had them in, I didn't put them in the dresser. I was just very tired or just didn't do it, wasn't thinking of it. But today I got it done. And I was like, you got something done today. So I wanted today to talk to y'all. It's new for me to be back up here, y'all, but I want to talk about God's favor. And I'm not gonna even say I knew that we was gonna kind of talk about this, but lately I've been feeling a lot more, probably since February, sorry y'all. Probably since February, around that time, I feel like I've been grieving and growing. God has definitely been just cutting things off and redirecting my focus to different things, and it's been hurting because some things have been dying and some things have been growing, and I've been kind of grieving the things that are dying, and also trying to be thankful for the things that are growing. But it's a lot grieving and growing at the same time, and just being a new person, growing into the new person that God has me to be. It's new, you grieve your old person, you grieve the things you used to do, you still sometimes battle and wrestle with how you used to do things, and learning to embrace the person you are now. Hope that makes sense. But lately, for this past week, I've been just kind of worrying a little bit about some of the things that I've witnessed. Well, something that I witnessed when I was a child, and when I think about it and talk to God about it, I get upset. Like, I saw this, I don't like that I saw this, you can get it out my mind. Like, why won't you get it out my mind? I get upset at the fact that I saw it because this person was in my life, this certain person was in my life, and it's like, well, if you weren't in my life, I probably wouldn't have seen this, and things of that sort. And it goes towards the justice that I talked about before, like the case, because it also involves him. And I just get frustrated because I'm like, man, if this person wasn't in my life, I really won't be worrying about some of the things that I worry about now. And I do feel like worry is a thief, because I'll be with my kids and I'll just zone out and start thinking about things from years ago. And I remember I did it maybe 2 years ago now, probably in 2024. And my daughter just started to sing, don't you worry, child. See, heaven's got a plan for you. And she was only, I think she just turned 4 when she had just turned 4 earlier that year, when she sung the song, but she didn't really have no idea from my knowledge of like what I was thinking and what I was going through. But for her to just start singing it, I felt like it was a little wink, little nugget from God, like, don't worry about that. Like, I have a plan and things of that sort. So this is a little backstory to what I'm going to read to y'all today. And so I was just thinking about like the things that I was worrying about this week. And then today, when I woke up, for some reason, the bad things that that person did was just like heavy on my mind. Like, I woke up and it was just like, I'm thinking of certain things that they did that could have easily been overlooked. But it's just like, no, you probably were doing wrong when you did this. And you probably were, you know, just taking advantage of certain things when you did this. And I was kind of like upset with God. Well, not with God, but I was upset. And I think I was talking to God about that too. Like justice. Like, I want the evidence so that I can, you know, get justice and show the truth. And so me and my husband, like I said, still background to what I'm going to say, we were trying to find something to eat this morning, and he was thinking about coffee, and he was like, it's this place called Por Favor. And so when he said that, I was like, Por Favor. And I remember I had made a poem called Por Favor, and I had made another poem called Poor Favor, like a play on words. And I wrote this back in 2024. And I had seen the place. It was a coffee shop, but when I had saw Por Favor, I was just like it was like a play on words, like, oh, it looks like favor. And I was like hearing a lot about favor and things of that sort around that time. So when he had said the coffee shop name, I was like, And I had been feeling like I needed to make a video, but I didn't really know what it was going to be about. And then the verse of the day was from Romans 3, and I think it started at verse 22. It says, even the righteousness of God through faith in Christ Jesus to all. I'm going to read it from verse 21. But now the righteousness of God apart from the law is revealed, being witnessed by the law and the prophets. And then verse 22, even the righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ to all and on all who believe, for there is no difference. And then verse 23, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Verse 24, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. So I think the verse of the day is verse 23 through 24. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And then verse 24, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Christ Jesus. And so when I saw that as the verse of the day, it kind of stood out to me because it reminded me, like, Anissa, you have fallen short of the glory of God too. I think I'm learning how to carry wanting justice, but also remembering that grace that that person needs is the same grace that I get and that I should give. And really learning how to manage like a righteous anger, but also remembering like I sinned and I've fallen short, and I have messed up. And so this poem that I feel like God kind of brought up today in conversation with my husband, and then it also relates to the verse, I was just like, oh, it makes sense. It kind of reminds me that we all have fallen short. To give grace, I can love justice, but to not allow the things that this person has done to consume me and to maybe even cause me to hate. and devour me. You know, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. Devour the time that I have with my kids, steal the things that I can't enjoy with them because I'm being brought back to the past. Yeah, so I'm just going to read this poem. It's called Poor Favor. It was written in 2024. It was written when I was lost. So some of the things I may not, you know, completely agree with now. But I do hope that God is able to work it all together to communicate the message that he sees fit for the person that's listening. So I started, let's start. Don't you worry, don't you worry. I know heaven's got a plan. You saw it all too, when I think no one understands. You felt the weight of sin, the spiritual burden of it. You felt the pain we face and the burden to be him. To be him, to be me. You felt all sin, teaching me to show grace with me in your hands. You poured your favor on me, I'm sure to show grace to others. Reminded me of my mess ups and how your blood alone has me covered. I would change that part, not gonna lie. I would say your blood through faith. You know, that verse 23 says, whom God set forth as propitiation by his blood through faith to demonstrate his righteousness. So I would change that too, and how your blood through faith has me covered. This is just what I wrote back then. Poured into my poverty, grace saved a wretch like me. Forever poor in spirit, more of you I always need. Por favor, keep me at your feet, even when it's time to rise. Pour favor, your grace and mercy, and thank you for this moment in time. Peace. So I'll break some of it down. Don't you worry, don't you worry. That goes back to, you know, I told y'all in like 2024, my daughter had said that to me. And I feel like it was a wink from God. Like, you know, I know. And I remember, I think in that moment when I was thinking of it, it was just like, this isn't fair. I think I was thinking that, like, this isn't fair. What happened, the way I'm thinking. And then she just started seeing that. And so, I know heaven's got a plan. And then I'm reminded that God saw it all too, for those times that I think I don't understand, anyone understands. And then he felt the weight of sin, the spiritual burden of it. He felt the pain that we face and the burden to be him, to be the person that, you know, I saw these things with, to be the person that has done these things because it's sin. It's, you know, and then I said, to be him, to be me, you felt all sin. And that ties into, for all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. God felt the sins that I battle with. And I think sometimes I can forget that, like, for all have sinned. And then teaching me to show grace with me in your hands. And then, you know, you poured your favor on me. He poured favor on me. I'm sure to show grace to others. Sometimes I don't. I mess up and I don't show grace. Reminded me of my mess ups, because my mess ups was in my face a lot. And how your blood, like I said, I will add through faith, has me covered. And then poured into my poverty. He poured into my lowness. He poured into me not having a lot. He poured into my brokenness. Grace saved a wretch like me. Forever poor in spirit. More of you I always need. So I always say, like, I need more. Like, I don't, I never have in that time, you know, enough of him. And I feel like, you know, still, like, I want more of him. I want more. Por favor, please keep me at your feet, even when it's time to rise. You know, just keep me low, keep me with him, because it's tempting to go another way when we rise or when we get out of it. And this is in the middle of it. I didn't know I was like in the middle of divination, and I'm writing this. Pour favor, your grace and mercy, and thank you for this moment in time, and then peace. So yeah, I hope it made sense to y'all. I know sometimes I'm all over the place because sometimes I'm still processing reading it again. Like, this was the first time that I read it in a while. And then, just different things speak to me. But I do think that we have to remember all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Sometimes we can be like, oh, well, this needs to be this and this needs to be that. And I feel like we can do that sometimes unrighteously and righteously. Like, we want the right thing to happen. But we also have to just keep in mind that grace saved us, and we have to not allow hate to take root so that we can, pray for that person and ask God for his grace to reach that person. And I do think with this case, I have been wanting God to save this person. Even before the case, I wanted God to save this person because I don't want the person to go to hell. I want the person to be saved. I want the person to be renewed and restored. But I think as things are coming up, I am getting a bit more upset and processing the feelings of things that happened years ago, and just seeing things differently now as an adult, as a mother. I do get angry and I get frustrated and I get upset because I feel like a thief is always present. Even years later, a thief is present. But reading that poem, it was like me seeing don't you worry. Like I said, this is the first time I read it in a while. It was like oh, okay, God, maybe you brought me back to this poem to just show me don't you worry. And don't you worry was something that I read this week actually in Matthew, how Jesus talks about like, don't worry about tomorrow. And that's something that I told you I was doing a lot this week, was worrying because of the things that's going on in the world. And then it correlated to what I saw as a kid. And then I woke up today and I was upset, and I saw the Bible verse that talked about all have sinned and fall short. And so it's just like, even now for this case, I want evidence to come up. I want justice to be served. My son is in the back upset, but he's okay. Even though I want justice to happen, I don't need to worry myself about it. I don't need to worry myself about evidence and like trying to get things to be done, because God sees it and God knows what needs to happen, and I just need to trust that God will allow it to happen. So I hope that y'all enjoy Pour Favor. And like I said, it is some things that I would probably switch about it now, but I also just try to hope that God can work it together and read it how it was then when I was lost, because I was lost when I wrote it. But I believe he can work it all together. I told y'all what I would change if I could, and I'm still learning. I think I'm just kind of going to grips with that. Like, I can't change and do everything. I can't make it perfect, but I just gotta trust God with it. So I hope y'all enjoy. I hope it spoke to you, and let me know if you going through something similar, wanting justice and things like that, but also having to remember that grace saved you, and having to pray that grace saves that person too, even if that person is your enemy or somebody that abused you or somebody that mistreated you, to pray for them, because we're supposed to pray for our enemies. Jesus prayed when he was on the cross, and I think that's something that we got to remember. Like, prayer can change things, and we got to have hope in God. So I'll see y'all later, and thank y'all for listening. with Journeying with Jesus.